a very good friend of mine sent me a link to an IGN article discussing is Gwen Stacy trans. And after I read it, I ended up going on Twitter and I saw people's responses. So I thought, just maybe this one time I'm going to try and have a look at this, and we're going to see the evidence for and against Gwen Stacy being trans. So, as always, grab yourself a cup and let's look into this. Hopefully this will be a fun one. To get the ball rolling, I think it's best to start with the arguments for Gwen being trans. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it started with one article that has just blown up from there. And the article stated why people feel that way. And I think it was also came from a lot of people on social media feeling that way. So, that, and we'll have to start somewhere. So first up, if you look at the color scheme of Gwen's world, it is quite similar to the trans pride flag. And I know you could argue the fact that that's just the color scheme for their world. But if you look at Peter B. Parker, the original Miles Morales, and Spider-Ham, and I think Penny Parker as well, when you see their worlds, they just look normal in color. Maybe some artistic styles a bit different, but Gwen's world was heavily influenced by these colors. Other factors you see, if you look in Gwen's room, they have a Protect Trans Kids poster on the wall, and Gwen's father wears a trans pride pin at one point. Other factors you can put in there is Gwen's confrontation to coming out with their father can be an allegory for a trans person coming out to their parents. That, and in other cases, especially The Watchmen, you've seen the concept of people with like heteronormative sexualities, if that's the right word for this one, using the idea of being a superhero to sort of hide that, or it's been used in ideas before, particularly with Alan Moore. You got those there, and they're not big things, but based on the fact that that's the only glimpses we get into Gwen's world, I can see the argument being there. But there are arguments against, and I'm going to get into those now. So let's have a look at that. So why would someone say Gwen isn't trans? Well, the first obvious thing is it's never stated. Like, well, it's never explicitly stated. But again, you could argue that the film maybe didn't feel like it was a necessary thing to state, because when it comes down to it, that's not the plot of this film. The plot is about, you know, a multiversal Spider-Man team. So I can see that one there. Then you could also argue that the color scheme that was chosen for that world is not based off the trans pride flag, but is based off Gwen's costume, which it is also. They're very similar. You can't disagree with that. And then the final argument as to why Gwen wouldn't be trans is that it's not canon. You know, we don't ever see that, to the best of my knowledge. And I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but even this is where I would have issues, is that I don't ever know of any time where it's been stated that Gwen is trans, or anything other than the Gwen Stacy that we know from the comics, which is mostly a couple of different versions. So it's you could argue that as clear cut, but is it? And that's where I'll go into my thoughts now on it. So take a minute, have a think. Where do you lie on this? Do you think they're trans, or do you think she is not trans? How do you feel about it? And then we'll just see what I think of it next, because that's probably going to upset some people. So in my opinion, and this is going to sound like a cop-out to some people, but I'm going to get this in a minute, art really is for your own interpretation. I never saw Gwen as trans, but looking at some of the evidence that has been put out there, I can see it. And I'll defend their position on that, because I was a lonely, weird little nerdy kid who loved cameras and was jokingly referred to by one of my teachers as a young Peter Parker at one point, and I really, that made me smile, because I always identified with Peter Parker, because he was the weird guy, at least the one of the versions I knew of him. And so that made me feel good inside. And if someone out there identifying with Gwen because they see their trans life through her lens, what's wrong with that? They're not claiming her for an entire people because it's a fictional character. It's there for all of us. It's not real. And then if you want to argue about canon, that is where I'm actually going to be doing a follow-up video on canon, but I'm going to get into a brief one about now. This is a film all about breaking canon. Literally, that is part of this plot, is that maybe breaking canon is okay. That's what they're trying to stop Miles from doing, but we're rooting for Miles to literally break canon. It involves numerous Spider-Man. It also involves a Spider T-Rex and a Spider Cat. So to say that this Gwen Stacy cannot be trans, but it's okay to have a Spider T-Rex and a Spider Cat, I don't think that is something we can hold up. And I know a lot of people will argue again, but it's canon. Let's not forget that back in 2004, in comic books, everyone came back to life except for Uncle Ben, Jason Todd, and Bucky. And by 2005, 2 out of 3 of them have returned, and they are beloved characters right now. At least they were last time I checked. So we can't argue that it's canon. It just doesn't add up. Canon changes, and this is a film about the multiverse of infinite possibilities and changing canon. A transgender Gwen doesn't change anything. Every other version of Gwen Stacy still exists. In fact, if you dislike the fact that this character could be trans, I'm not saying she is, or they are, but your argument is that it's not canon, then you still cannot like the Spider-Woman or Ghost Spider version of Gwen Stacy, because that shouldn't be canon either, because the original Gwen Stacy died whenever the Green Goblin threw her off his glider. And don't forget, there's been plenty of controversy around Gwen before, like that really bad idea where apparently she had an affair with Norman Osborn, which I think we can all agree is terrible. So yes, anyway, getting deviated once again. Canon means nothing in this situation. And comic books break canon all the time. It's what happens. So, but the good thing about canon is you can choose what you like and what you don't like. And that's the stuff you personally follow, but you can't insist everyone else follows the same stuff as you. And I'm saying this as someone who absolutely loves Star Wars Legends. And I'm also saying this as someone who's watched a couple of MCU films and be like, oh, what have you done? Like what they did with the Mandarin originally, yet they somehow find a way to redeem that. So, yeah, it can't be that important. Yeah, that. Don't be bogged down by it. And don't get upset if someone chooses to interpret it a different way than you. Because at the end of the day, it's a fictional character. It doesn't matter. You have bigger things in your life to worry about. That's just my general opinion on it. I'm saying this as, again, as someone who is a straight white guy from a very conservative country. I'm not the person that should be leading the charge on this, and I'm not, because I obviously know I'm not the person that is leading the charge, but it's not like I'm the enemy to anyone here. Well, probably to some people. So, at the end of the day, Gwen's not a real character. So, if you're upset about this, fine. But trust me, you have bigger things to worry about in life than some people online relating to a character. Because there's plenty of characters out there you relate to, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that will say, no, you can't relate to that character because X, Y, Z. Besides, at the end of the day, I don't think Peter Parker would care too much, and he's the original Spider-Man. So, on that note, I'm going to finish my tea. And guys, and girls, and everything else out there, have a nice day, and I'll see you later.